Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Annual #1 from 1999. A super cool, fun jam issue by a bunch of different artists with this awesome cover by Mignola. I think my friend Tony keeps mentioning this online, and I'm like, I totally have this book, so I've been meaning to cover it. So here we are. So hit subscribe, hit like. I'm going to cue the intro, and I'll be right back.
FitzTroytv. Comic book art critiques. Snark, talk, and sarcastic ways. Representing geeky gaze. Aliens, comics rule the day. Hurry up and turn that page. Michael FitzTroy.
All right. Can we just give an appreciation for Mike Mignola's art in general? And just like, I mean, even without Batman, this would be the most cool as hell demon ever on the cover. And then you throw in this like totally great depiction of Batman holding a sword. And ironically, you know, Mike Mignola got his start in superhero comic books at Marvel, I believe, with like Rocket Raccoon and Alpha Flight. Then he'd go to DC and do Cosmic Odyssey. And I feel like very well suited for Batman. This, you know, he did Gotham by Gaslight and as other, you know, handful of Batman stories. And I just think Batman is definitely, that's one of the interesting things about Batman, and I would say Wonder Woman as well, is like, I think they are such great characters that they fit into so many different types of stories that the least of which almost being superhero stories. Like, I would much rather see Batman in some sort of weird psychological thriller than a straight up superhero action, even though I love that stuff too. So I feel like we're in for a treat here. Batman Legends of the Dark Knight was such a great series from the late 80s and early 90s. It had a huge run, and just like, I can't even tell you, like, I've covered so many different issues, but so many great story arcs, huge anthology, by some of the greatest top creative talent. I mean, the fact that we're looking at this cover by Mike Mignola should tell you that, you know, you're in for a treat. Okay, so we get the splash page by Jim Aparo. I love Jim Aparo because of Batman and the Outsiders. That's how I know his art, and that was what made me fall in love with his art. And a lot of people cite Jim Aparo as such a great quintessential Batman artist, and I think that this splash page illustrates that perfectly, no pun intended. But it is just beautiful. I think that a lot of people look at Jim Aparo as sort of like a classic comic book artist who, you know, has all the nuts and bolts. Like, he brings the details, he brings heroic looking figures, but he has such an underlying artistry that is so subtle that, like, blink and you'll miss it. Just the way he's drawn, like, this winter scene, and how in some of the shadows you see some of the snowflakes, and just really beautiful stuff. And just the way that he's blacks and his composition, and sort of how Batman's framed but not perfectly centered. I just can't say enough about how beautiful I think his art is. And I'm loving this Mike Grell. Oh my gosh, Mike Grell's Warlord. So hot and sexy. He definitely, like, was homoerotic without trying to be or knowing. I mean, he draws some of the best looking men. Sorry to go off on that little tangent, but there it is. And then we have some great pages by Jim Aparo here. Oh my God, it's just so beautiful. Just look at this. And this coloring is great. I'm telling you, this was such a quality book. I feel like it was sort of a response to the success of, you know, the Batman movie, and like that huge popularity Batman took during that time. And I'm so glad we have it. Like, there are just so many great timeless Batman stories with such really, really gorgeous, breathtaking art out there within the confines of this series. And it's so cool. And without credits, I recognize this as Keith Giffin. So, famous Legion of Superheroes artist. I probably, because I sort of came into DC a little later in the game, but I'm more a fan of his because of his writing on Justice League. But I kind of love his pencils. I was at they're very dark and moody and very distinct. Even though apparent, and I wish I'm sorry to not know everything in life, but I recently discovered that this particular style that Giffin is using here was ripped off from a Hispanic artist, like a famous Hispanic artist. And once you see the side by side, you're kind of like, oh my God, swiper, like whatever. But I still have a great appreciation for it. I think it's still cool nonetheless. So I won't take that away from you, Keith Giffin. I mean, you're a master storyteller. Your layouts are incomparable, and your contribution to the legend of comic books is undeniable. So there you have it. Lots of stuff by Keith Giffin in here, and I feel like this could be Joe Quesada. It definitely looks like Joe Quesada. Yeah, this is looking like the way totally. This is his anatomy and the way he spots blacks and just his kind of windows and this like little effect right here. So this is, and I love Joe Quesada's art. I wish we would have gotten more from him. I thought it's funny because he did a lot of Azrael, and I definitely prefer his Batman to Azrael. And, you know, of course he did Daredevil with Kevin Smith and Spider-Man, that horrifying thing that got rid of his marriage to Mary Jane. One Last Day, 5 More Minutes, A Stitch in Time Saves 9. I forgot what it was called, but you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, I'm sorry. I'm loving this because we're getting like several pages from these guys. And this is just the kind of thing I feel like we're missing in comics these days. We just don't have enough like excitement level and like superstar artists. Like if they did a Batman anthology book right now, it would probably be like 10 people you never heard of and maybe one sort of great old school guy. And I don't know who this artist is, but let's see, Giffin, Quesada, Spiegel. So it's probably, was it Art Spiegel, Dan Spiegel? We'll get it in the end in the credits, okay? Because Tom Lyle's also in here, and I love, and Templeton and Golden, Ty Templeton and Michael Golden, respectively. This is some cool art. I'm loving how like all these different artists are definitely meshing together so well, and this is like some really, really beautiful art. I love this. What a great book. This was such a good book, you guys. You definitely see. It's funny because I don't know all artists, but I know Michael Golden when I see him, and he's just so unmistakable. What beautiful art. He just draws such a great Batman. It's just a pleasure to look at his Batman. It really is. I mean, so much, like, just his line work and his, just everything. Just the way he draws figures and faces. Got some fun Michael Golden stuff coming up. I think I found Vietnam. I guess it depends on where you're from, but another beautifully illustrated Michael Golden work. But just look at this. I mean, it's so beautiful. You just don't get this kind of stuff in comics anymore. Everything's hand penciled, hand inked, hand lettered. We could be getting into digital coloring at this point, but not as a rule. It always shocks me when Hitler shows up in a comic book. It's so jarring and like triggering to me for some reason. Just, I don't know. Like, I really don't want to see, you know, Bin Laden or Hussein in there. I was just thinking about Kelly Jones and how much Kelly Jones actually owes to Michael Golden for his style. But, I mean, Kelly Jones is a great Batman artist as well. So we had Joe Quesada, Keith Giffin, Joe Quesada, Tom Lyle, Ty Templeton, Dan Spiegel, James Blackburn, don't know him. Oh, interesting. So James Blackburn did the pencils and Michael Golden actually did the inks. And it's so funny how I would like to see the pencils and just see how loose they are compared to this, because Obviously, I had no idea. I thought that Michael Golden penciled and inked it himself. And that's the highest compliment you can pay any artist, right? Anyway, covered by Mike Mignola. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful book. You know, Batman has so many books out now, and he's so, like, oversaturated and so overdone. But, I don't know, still such a great character. Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight. If you guys are unfamiliar with this title or haven't read it, do yourself a favor. I mean, consistently great stories, consistently beautiful art, totally worth checking out. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, hit like, share my content, and I'll bring you some more later. All right, thanks, guys.